Welcome to the New Rugged Order podcast, exclusively on the Hard Knock Digital Culture channel. Now give it up to your host, people, MM2K.
I had to bring that one back, y'all. I had to bring it back. What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K back again with another one. But this is In a Row Podcast. Y'all probably sitting there saying to yourself, what the hell is In a Row Podcast and why are you on this channel? Well, frankly, because I have so much content that I have in store for the Stadia Doses channel that I've already filled it to capacity, really. And I got a video that's supposed to be dropping in 15 minutes, but I had to push that back to cover this real quick because this is important news. The Almighty Spartan God, what's going on, good brother? Sending out your propaganda. I know. Who you trying to convince, me or yourself? But shout out to my brother, the Almighty Spartan God. And then let me see here. Let me see if I can do something real quick because I want to be able to hold on 1 second. You got to excuse me because I haven't been on this channel for a while. And I want to let everybody know, create posts. Okay, we are live. Join us live. Join us for this special presentation. All right, so here's what's going on, y'all. Kotaku dropped an article talking about, let's see something here. Kotaku dropped an article talking about the situation at Stadia SG&E in regards to how things were poorly communicated, how the community was right in looking at this and saying, wow, these guys bumbled this whole process, and how things were told a week prior to the company a week prior to SG&E being let go. They were told that they were tracking properly and led to believe that their jobs were safe, and how this was just a venture that Stadia could not handle altogether properly, and how they bungled it. Now, for those of you that heard that, you might be saying, see, the heart and soul of Stadia was bungled and it's over for Stadia. Oh, no. You've been misinformed by the lamestream media. You've been misinformed by those daddy device hogs who don't understand cloud gaming, let alone Stadia, and what it's trying to do in the immediate and in the long term. SG&E is not the heart and soul of Stadia. SG&E simply represented their first party efforts for games that they were going to develop in-house and do special projects like Project Chimera, which would allow a 10-man team to develop a game as big as World of Warcraft. But those were lofty ideas that were not coming to fruition for years. The SG&E head, Jade Raymond, told you in 2019 that you weren't going to see output from those efforts until 5 years from then. So then if we do the math, I ain't got to bust out the calculator, you weren't going to see these titles until 2014. So to say that was this heart and soul of SG&E is far tethered from the truth when the company themselves told you that before this stuff would even come to fruition, you would see they were tracking 400 games from 200 developers. Now, we know all 400 of those games were not coming from SG&E, if any of them that they were talking about they were tracking. So, again, it's important to understand, despite how you feel about this platform, where you get your news from. The Stadia Dosage platform, where I primarily talk about Stadia news, is a platform where we talk facts. We don't do armchair quarterback in there, and that's where you get a lot of this from. That's why y'all believed a week or so ago A lot of it due to the miscommunication that we're going to talk about here that Kotaku talks about in this article, even though this article, as far as I'm concerned and many are concerned, really doesn't have any surprise revelations to any of us that have been following this news. But that's why y'all were led to believe that what Stadia did was they were winding down Stadia, that they cut out the heart and soul and it was the end of it. No. Stadia realized that they bit off more than they could chew, trying to circumvent years and years of learning that PlayStation went through, that Xbox went through. Because when PlayStation dropped and Xbox dropped, they didn't go build these big illustrious studios like Stadia tried to do and like how Amazon trying to do. And Amazon is failing at it miserably. They didn't try to, them trying to circumvent the learning pains of getting out there, earning the respect of the gamers first, and then using the respect that you've earned and the income that you would have earned from that respect to subsidize then building first-party studios. They realized, hey, look, they looked to their left and they looked to the right. They looked to their left and saw Amazon failing miserably at this effort. Again, this is stuff that you're not getting from the lamestream media. The lamestream media doesn't tell you that before Amazon games even released or Luna even released, that Amazon cut 200 people from the studios that they picked up. They wouldn't license Lumberyard, which is a mix and mash of the Crytek technology. They were doing all this big and badass talking. And I remember I got caught up in it. I don't know if y'all remember my tweets. I can go find them where I was like, look, I'm disappointed with Xbox. It looks like Amazon is going to be my next hub to replace Xbox. Remember I was doing all that talking? That was because of all the big bad talking they were doing back then. Only for months later for them to dissolve all of those efforts. They let go 200 people. And no telling what the conversations were then because the ire wasn't with Amazon like how it is with Stadia. I didn't see the Kotaku articles when this happened with Amazon with 200 people. But you're seeing it now with Stadia, which is peculiar to me. But nonetheless, I don't doubt the authenticity of what they're reporting. So they looked to the left and they saw Amazon is failing miserably. And news just came out today that Amazon once again has to push back New World. This is like the 5th pushback. So the lesson I think that is being learned here, which Stadia cut its losses, I think, a lot earlier than Amazon did and realized we can't circumvent the growing pains that we got to go through here, is that you can't just jump out of the box and be Xbox or PlayStation. These are growing pains that you have to go through before you even attempt to be on that level. So they cut their losses early and went about their business. And now they're showing up, getting more AAA titles, more desired games. They're looking at what they're good at right now, building upon that, and then maybe in the future revisiting, trying to look at maybe first-party development. But just because you don't have first-party development doesn't mean that you don't have exclusive titles. You can partner with second-party development and buy exclusive games. And then don't forget the Brad Sams article that highlighted, again, however you feel about Brad Sams, like for Microsoft, you can't dispute the fact that this guy is right the majority of the time. And what Brad Sams discovered is that Microsoft, Amazon, and Google were looking to acquire big-time studios. That was the word around town. So if you got this first-party studio that you're really not going to get anything from, this is the first time these people have been together. You have no experience in managing such a large-scale effort. You don't know when they're going to be able to drop something beyond 2014. But then you got the potential of having studios out there that are currently making games, that are currently seeing success, and that you can buy them while they're currently making them games, keep them multi-plat, right now to help subsidize your efforts on your game platform, kind of what Microsoft is looking to do with Bethesda. And you have a situation like the game you see on this screen, Cyberpunk 2077, that the vast majority of people that touch it across multiple platforms say the second best place to play it is Stadia next to PC. That is a better place to play it than $500 consoles. And you saw how successful that effort was. You saw that units that normally sat in brick and mortar, like Best Buy, were sold out instantaneously. You couldn't replenish them in 3 weeks. They were sold out so fast. You got to think to yourself, maybe we ain't got no business shoring up all this money to try to be Xbox and PlayStation. We got to work our way to be there. So after reading through the Kotaku article, that's what I saw. I saw a lot of, they went and told their employees a week before the closure of the studio, you guys are on track, right? Which this ain't funny. I've lambasted Stadia, by the way, for the fact that even though this was a needed move, this should have never happened in the first place. Like, I think they fell for the bait. Like Phil Spencer, of all people, they let Phil Spencer let them lay down the bear trap, and then they stepped into it. When Phil Spencer did all that talk about, oh man, like he was like he was suffering from asthma. You know what I'm saying? I can't breathe at night. I can't sleep at night. Why, Phil? Because I'm thinking about Amazon and Google. That was a bunch of horse pucky. That was a bunch of bullshit. Amazon and Luna, in no way, even out of the gate, regardless of their money, have no way in touching PlayStation and Xbox in recent years. They don't. Cloud gaming is niche. Analysts predict that cloud gaming in 4 years might be an 8% business. Doesn't mean that they won't see a lot of money in that 8%. Yes, they will. But it's an 8% business. They don't expect it to start reaching its apex as far as competitiveness for 10 years. Now, it's going to reach its apex as far as possibilities before then, but it's not going to reach its apex for competitiveness for 10 years. That's why a lot of you that are upset, that are on these podcasts that are talking about, oh man, cloud gaming is to destroy gaming. Shut up. There is no way cloud gaming can destroy dedicated device gaming. Look at the field right now. If you look at the field right now, the people with the best tech is Stadia, and look what they just did. They just bungled their first party efforts. It's not easy to develop this tech with low latency, low lag that can work wherever. So everybody can't just wake up and say, I'm going to start a game streaming service and it's going to be successful. It took Stadia 8 to 9 years to get to this tech. It's taken Amazon X amount of time. GFN was in beta for 4 or 5 years. So all this hoopla about I'm afraid that cloud gaming is, shut up. It's riddled in ignorance. And that's when y'all got to stop watching IGN or stop watching your favorite YouTuber and start doing your due diligence. But I also, after admiring y'all and lambasting y'all, I've lambasted Stadia last week when I said this was something they should have never got into. They had no business getting into first-party studios. You got to subsidize such efforts. Like, Microsoft wouldn't have gotten a blank check to buy 22 or 33 studios, whatever the hell they're buying, if they didn't have Minecraft making a whole bunch of money for them, if they weren't leasing out Havoc and all the other ventures that they have. When it comes to Fortune 500 growth, if you're going to go and do these big ventures, they have to be subsidized. I don't care what your war chest is. That's not how the Fortune 500 world works. And I know I answered a question on Twitter, and I didn't mean to be mean about it, but sometimes our ignorance floods our ability to look at this stuff from 5,000 feet. Just because Google has a whole bunch of money, they can't just throw money at situations because their investors won't let them do it. You got to have some money working behind the scenes, subsidizing said effort. Microsoft has that. PlayStation has that. Google has no such revenue stream right now. And then the company is dealing with the fact that they had a $5 billion loss as far as revenue with cloud gaming is concerned. There was no way that they were going to jump on these opportunities like what they saw with Cyberpunk 2077, like what they're hoping with Outriders now dropping day and date and it being cross-platform, and quite possibly the best way to play it is going to be on Stadia, because Stadia is going to have its Stadia-based features, which is Stream Connect, where I can see my partner's gameplay through a miniature screen. You don't have those opportunities to make those come to fruition if you got hundreds of millions of dollars tied up in a first-party effort that isn't going to come to fruition till 2024. So that's that. As far as understanding that SG&E was not the heart of Stadia. It was very disappointing for many people, including myself, to know that efforts such as Project Chimera that was tied to that have now been bottlenecked and scrapped for the time being. And again, Project Chimera was the effort where they were going to take the AI and machine learning and build a protocol around that where a team of 10 people can build a game as big as World of Warcraft. You type in variables, you put in assets, and it just builds the game and world and monsters and hit points and landscape and all that stuff for you, and you're just doing tweaking. That solves a lot of the problems that we're experiencing with games that are buggy, that are messy, because most of the heavy lifting is being done by the Project Chimera protocol. So yes, that aspect of it is disappointing, but it was not the heart and soul of what Stadia's efforts were for the time being. Again, they told you, if you paid attention and you weren't listening to people like Wrong Ye and Meancast Boy, they told you that they were tracking 400 games from 200 developers over the next few years. 200 developers over the next few years. SG&E wasn't even the tip of the iceberg for that, okay? All right, so now that we're educated, let's move on to this article. So I want to talk about this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But while I'm looking for this article, I'm also tracking some of the activity on Stadia and some of the Stadia community. Let me see here. We're very well using the term betas. Okay, I don't know. Okay, people are going back and forth, investing for 8 years in gaming division without being able to bring any game site. How do you think these same people would be addressing the issue? It says okay, so I'm just tracking some things here. If Google had been investing for 8 years in the gaming division without being able to bring any games in sight, how do you think these games? This is this part. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm looking at, honestly, the big part of this story for me is that Phil Harrison lied, withheld information, and failed to provide an ample explanation to his disbanded team. This article isn't so much about SG&E closing as it is Harrison's total lack of brother. Brother. Okay, so this is Zach Laidlaw. Let me do this real quick. I don't want to put people on blast, but I just want to show you guys what I'm answering here. So this is a good friend of the community, Zach Laidlaw. He put a comment out here, which I want to address. And I'm addressing different comments out here because just to educate this side of the wing here that normally doesn't get my Stadia content. Honestly, the biggest part of this story for me is that Phil Harrison lied withheld information and failed to provide an ample explanation to his disbanded team. This article isn't so much about SG&E closing as it is Harrison's total lack of competence. Okay, so let me try to say this the nicest way possible, and I'm not excusing it to say that it's okay. But if you think that that's coherent with competency, then Zach, I got something for you. 90% of the Fortune 500 leadership needs to go. I can't tell you the number of projects and teams that I've personally had to disband where my managers walked around the floor and said stuff like, oh, this is great and all this, had town halls and said certain things. I'm sorry, this is symptomatic of the Fortune 500 world, which it isn't cool. It isn't right, but it's symptomatic. And I don't think this is Harrison's lack of competence than it is Google's entire lack of communication, of solid communication, not competence, communication. I mean, there's inherently something wrong here. I agree with that. But I think, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. I really do think that the gaming community has to get more tethered to how Fortune 500 companies work. That's our biggest disconnect, because we don't know what to argue for, what to argue about. So when we're out here in a frenzy just blurting a bunch of stuff, we get ignored. And the companies say they don't know what the hell they're talking about. We're gonna keep going, business as usual. What you see in this article is symptomatic of what Fortune 500 companies do all the time. I can tell you, I would need a dozen hands, Zach, to tell you how many times I myself have been in similar situations. Maybe not as sloppy in the communication, but yes, Fortune 500 companies deceive their employees to keep them there because they don't want them walking out. They want to have the control and say, you're gone. Is that cool? Is that great? No, I don't like that aspect. But that's what they do. They rather have the control and say, and keep you there and say you're gone, opposed to you saying, well, I'm leaving. I smell something in the air, I'm leaving. So they work in a deceptive pattern, period. And we're number one in our industry, Fortune 500. Like I got to watch how I say, but yeah, we're number one in our industry, period. We control more fundage than anybody, period. And we've been doing this for decades. So it's what Kotaku is trying to do is paint you this picture of activity that is solely synonymous with Google, and it's not. This is where, again, I know where we don't agree with Jason Schreier, but this is where I think Kotaku was really missing Jason, because here's what he would have done appropriately. He would have tied this. He would have said, this was egregious. I don't like this from Google. Phil Harrison, shame on you. But he would have tied this to the overall deceptiveness within the Fortune 500 world. Do not be deceived. What happened here is not solely synonymous with Google. These big companies do this all the time. Oh, yeah, things are going great. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah, you're doing a fantastic job. Yeah, I'm going to keep you. I've seen situations where somebody told somebody, I'm going to keep you. We got a new job for you. On advice from HR, knowing that that person was integral for them to transition some things to the new people that were going to take over. And HR talked to the lawyers and found out that legally they would be able to do it by just simply saying, you know what? We came across a new issue where we had to make cuts because of XYZ. So what I said before may have been true at the time, or there may have been some way that we thought we could work something out with you, and we just weren't 100% sure, but we pretty much knew that it wouldn't be the case. And they were able to legally get away with it. So that's why they said it, because again, Fortune 500 companies want to have the choice of them telling you to go besides you saying, oh, I feel something in the air, I'm leaving. So if anything, this isn't, Google got caught with their hand in a cookie jar. And yes, if they get smacked for it, fine. But this is synonymous with Fortune 500 activity all over the place. I hate to tell you, Zach, and I hate to tell you rest of the people that are disconnected from this type of activity. Period. So, that's just some of the stuff that we're seeing here as far as the Stadia community. And Zach is part of the Stadia community. So again, if y'all think that it's just a bunch of people that are capping and no, this community holds its leaders and stuff like that to account more than anybody. They don't get into some console war. They hold their leaders to account, and really the Stadia community more than anybody. But the truth of the matter is that the whole thing with SG&E, as sloppy in communication it is, as really showing you that Stadia really wasn't looking at things realistically as far as trying to start first-party hubs, as disappointing as it is to see talent like Jade Raymond and Shannon Stott. I mean, Shannon Stott still left a secured position at one of the greatest studios in the world, Santa Monica. To leave to only find out that before your efforts see the light of day, you're gone. How shameful that is. It's not synonymous, and I don't want to talk like I'm in the boardroom, because none of us know. We're not in a boardroom. It's not synonymous with the closure of Stadia. This speaks more to the internal business practices of Google and Fortune 500 decision-making than it does to the survival of Stadia. Period. Let me go to the chat. I like to have like an open mic forum. Jody LaFlame said, this is some serious shit. Paul G said, yes, get Phil. Alberta Madonna says, Phil Spencer, we need blood. Anyone can make a better job than Phil. Cold Blood says, they said, get Phil Spencer and he going to make 10 times better to play. Oh, I don't know about that. He said, Paul G said, glass half full, baby. Jerris 2 says, disaster after disaster. My homie, Chase says, gaming advocate, man, I was about to drop a super chat. I know, yeah, it's not here yet. It's not here yet. And we got D Almighty Spartan God with the RIP lady. But yeah, y'all. We talked about this. I just wanted to educate people before this started reaching an apex of, oh, yeah, no. I mean, again, in my lambasting of Stadia for the poor communication of what was going on here, I said it's evident, and a lot of us said it's evident, that Stadia clearly didn't understand what they were getting into with first-party development. Now, there's this sentiment, and let me see if I can find the tweet. There's this sentiment that because Stadia had an issue with because Stadia had an issue with having to shore up fundage, that's no excuse because it's a Fortune 500 company and it's one of the richest companies in the world. I want to address that. Again, a good supporter of the platform says, what does he say? He says, shore up funds. This is not a startup company. This was meant to have the full backing of Google. Shake my head. So my response to that was, look, this is not a food bank. Despite a war, and again, this is someone from the Stadia community. So if y'all think there's a bunch of capping here, there isn't. This is not a food bank. Despite a war chest, you have to have feasible things happening in the business sector to subsidize such moves. Microsoft does. Minecraft, Havoc, Fortnite DLC. Stadia doesn't. It's as simple as that. Not trying to be funny, but again, like I repeated earlier, a lot of y'all need to go read Rich Dad, Poor Dad ASAP. So here's the thing. I do find it peculiar that Kotaku dropped this article now in the light of Outriders coming day and date and not shutting up a lot of the Stadia hate bars. I do, but see, this speaks. I think this speaks most part to Google. It re-solidifies what we've been saying already before this article even came out. This article is too late, but it re-solidifies what we've already been saying, which Stadia was out of its element running a first-party studio. Even though people like Phil Harrison, and y'all don't know this, but again, it's time for y'all to get educated, that if it wasn't for Phil Harrison, Sony wouldn't have Naughty Dog. Phil Harrison's team discovered Naughty Dog at Universal, brought them to Phil Harrison. Phil Harrison brought them to Sony. And it was Phil Harrison and Yoshida that signed the contract which signed Naughty Dog to Sony. So someone integral to Naughty Dog and Last of Us 2, a lot of y'all's favorite game of last year, is this man that y'all say don't know what he's doing. Phil Harrison was also one of the original 40 people at Sony. So for those of you that are miseducated that say, oh, everything Phil Harrison touches, he destroys. No, he was one of the original 40 people at Sony helping to mold the PlayStation 1. As far as his involvement with the PlayStation 3, he was one of the people that was urging the Japanese wing of the board, don't sleep on Xbox. They're going to make big hit waves. And the Japanese wing on the board that controlled everything didn't believe so because they said Xbox isn't big here in Japan. And then we had the 360 and the PlayStation 3 era where they were running neck and neck. It's the most competitive generation that Sony had with anybody. And it's the one that Phil Harrison tried to warn them about. When he went to Xbox, he had nothing to do with Xbox's launch. He was part of European studios. He then left Xbox and went and started his own mobile wing of development and became rich and was successful off of that and became rich and retired off of that. It was then that it was after that, while he was in retirement, that Google approached him and he's now with Stadia. So all of that miseducation that you guys got, that you guys went through, that's a reflection on the sources that you get your information from. It's not a reflection on Phil Harrison. And I say that being one of the people that was misinformed, that believed that crap. But one day I decided to do my due diligence, and then I educated myself and said, you know what? All the more why I don't listen to the mainstream game media and these stupid YouTubers. Even though I'm one of the stupid YouTubers, but at least I do my due diligence and research and just don't regurgitate stuff with fancy screens and and animations and thumbnails. All right. And so the last thing I want to cover is this theory that when Phil Harrison was having a Q&A with the employees, and they said, "Hey, we want to know what was behind this decision," and he attributed a portion of the decision to Xbox buying up Bethesda and buying up studios. Now, the immediate reaction that I saw from the gaming community within Stadia, that is, I haven't seen what y'all been saying outside of it besides here, but the majority of the reaction that I'm seeing from the Stadia community, oh, no, I don't want to say majority, but a lot of the reaction that I saw was, oh, Stadia doesn't want to compete. But again, that's not looking at it. Now I'm talking directly to the Stadia community. Y'all gotta keep looking at information from 5,000 feet. I'm not saying you're wrong in that assessment, but don't be so die hard to go with the most pessimistic point of view when there's other evidence to the contrary, more compelling evidence. Now, Brad Sams, that again, regardless of how you agree with the person's opinions, you look at their body of work. Brad Sams has been right about a lot of his investigative work, as same as Jason Schreier, regardless of what you think. I don't agree with none of Jason Schreier's opinions for the most part, but I appreciate his work. I respect his work. Brad Sams said that Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are looking hard to buy big ticket studios. So, if you're Google, and again, you look to your left and you look to your right, you look at Amazon, who's trying to start this, they're puppies in the game, and they're trying to start this first party stint, and they're failing miserably. This is like the third reboot of them trying this, and they're failing miserably, and they're just bleeding cash all over the place. And then you look at Microsoft, who bought Bethesda, who's already making games and making money off the games. Who looks like they're in a better place in this three-way competition? Amazon or Microsoft? Microsoft does. You have the best tech. So are you going to follow the loser, or are you going to follow the winner in this proposal? I'm following the winner. Here's what the winner's doing. The winner's buying already established studios, not trying to build them from the ground up. And what the winner is doing is saying, look, developers and publishers that are our partners, you do not have to worry about doing the heavy lifting when it comes to bringing your games to xCloud. Just do this when it comes to a menu, do that, and we'll do the rest. And Stadia's looking at it, and they're like, hold on. We've been doing this all wrong. How about we try how about what they're doing? They're already trying that as far as what xCloud is doing. I wholeheartedly believe that when they say that they're going to work with their third-party vendors, they mean they're going to do what xCloud is doing as far as having a team in place that's going to port these games over so their third-party vendors can lift as least amount of fingers as possible. Now, I know there's an argument out there that feeds into white labeling more likely to cause, and I get that argument. It's not a bad argument at all. But in rebuttal to that, I say this. When you go through a white labeling affair, yes, you don't have to worry about paying the 30% off of selling your game and services off of another platform, but then you got to bring in the staff. You do all the heavy lifting. And with all that staff, the technical staff that you need, not only do you have to license the product, which again, this product ain't gonna be $55 a year. This might be $1 million a year licensing fee. Then you got to pay for each employee that you're going to use to port these games because they got to port these games. So each employee, which might be making anywhere from, I would surmise, $70,000 to $100,000 for coding and whatnot, and for porting, You got to pay their insurance. You got to pay their unemployment insurance. See, this is Fortune 500 stuff that y'all don't think about because a lot of y'all are disconnected from this. That's a lot of stuff that they got to pay instead of them just outsourcing it to Stadia and saying, look, we'll just give y'all 30% from our revenues. Outsourcing is a big deal nowadays because in the long run, when you crunch the numbers of trying to do it yourself opposed to outsourcing it is a cheaper deal for you. Outsourcing is a big deal in the Fortune 500 world. Hence why you even see Fortune 500 companies outsourcing their human resources. Can you imagine that? Do you think you would have ever seen a day where a big ticket company outsources their human resources to another company? But outsourcing is big because when you crunch the numbers of having your own employees do it opposed to you just having it go through another hub and they take out a percentage, the latter is more cost effective. So that's why it's important that we look at everything from 5,000 feet. I'm not saying one argument is 100% right and another argument is 0% right. What I'm saying is that if we're looking at this wholeheartedly from 5,000 feet, we can see a multitude of possibilities. Now, in my opinion, the evidence supports, again, a reallocation of funds, and something that they had to do because they have nothing to subsidize them buying studios or porting games faster to the platform, for one. And for two, as far as the white labeling affair, just from personal experience, just from talking to people behind the scenes in this industry, there's some good money being made in gaming. That's why you saw game companies like Rockstar and even Naughty Dog. They outsourced coding because they didn't want to pay employees. They didn't want to pay a marketing, not a marketing team, but a temp team. You know, an additional 30% on the hour to do this coding, nor did they want to hire more employees that you got to pay unemployment insurance for, pay their health insurance for, and then if they get terminated, they can get unemployment. You don't got to go through those rigors if you outsource it. So that's the slither of the Fortune 500 world that I think a lot of us are missing, that we need to understand. And again, I'm not saying one entity is right or it's wrong. But what I'm seeing that I think is dangerous is that we're saying, oh, no. This is it. This is the only explanation. And we're becoming less and less educated in that situation. I think all the arguments have a place at the table. But you got to look at everything to make smart decisions. All right? Okay, so before I go, let me go to the chat. My homie Aminor, he says, I see everything from 5,000 feet, and I clearly see that Stadia is done. Shut your ass up, Aminor. My homie Gamer TV says, outsourcing is huge and makes sense. He also says, if white label Stadia's tech and support is cooked into the price. So here's what I'm saying, Gamer TV. Are you saying that if they do white labeling, let's just say if instead of Ubisoft Plus, Ubisoft decides, you know what? Why don't we just come up with Ubisoft Cloud? Why don't we just do Ubisoft Cloud and then we'll we'll house this ourselves. So are you telling me that all the conversion of the Ubisoft games to Linux and all the other stuff, all that would be done in-house by Stadia just by licensing? I mean, I don't know about that. That's like Unreal Engine to me. and I know you have lineage within the industry. I'm curious. I find that peculiar because that's like Unreal Engine. If I license Unreal Engine from Epic, they may have a support team to help me, but they're not developing the game for me. I still got to develop my game myself. I still got to have employees that do that, right? So I would imagine this would work the same way. Hence why, if you look at Ubisoft has multiple streaming partners. They have Amazon, Google, Parsec. Why go through all those entities and give them a cut of what you're doing, and why not just bring it in-house? Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, I got you. All right, I got you. Okay. Gamer TV says Ubisoft will still port, will help. No Dav. Okay, gotcha. Absolutely. Okay. I'm make sure that we were on the same page about that. My homie Dre from the Stadia community says, what do you think about this? This news and all around Stadia is bad at the moment. In the 6 months they shut down. Is that too negative? I'm not sure if I understand that. Shout out to you, Jasper. Yo, to you too. But Dre, what are you saying? Help me understand. You said, what do you think about this? This news and all around Stadia is so bad at the moment that in 6 months they should. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This is just my inkling, and I could be wrong. I don't think that this story is going to have much legs outside of us kicking this around in the Stadia community. All this story shows is that Stadia mismanaged their first party stint. But didn't we already say that? Even the most optimistic person with what Stadia was trying to do has to surmise that Stadia mismanaged their whole stint in first party, the whole first party element of it. You saw some deceptive practices, which you see across the Fortune 500 world. I hate to tell you. But you got to you got to see how the sausage is made when it comes to deceptive practices in the Fortune 500 world. You got to peek beyond the veil. But this isn't inclusive to Stadia. I've sat in dozens of meetings where I've seen upper management. Hey, look, this company is going, this group is going, this sector is going. And people felt something in the air. What's going on? Oh, we got something for you. We got something planned for you. You got to be careful with the wording. You just can't take things at face value. We got something planned for you in regards to a possible XYZ position. As long as you say the right keywords, you can dance around the truth. Now, is that right? I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that it's commonly practiced. And what you're seeing here with Stadia and Google is not out of the realm of day-to-day practices. But Dre, if I'm understanding your question right, I don't think this is going to have a long-term systemic effect on the platform. I just think that it shows what we've been saying already, is that they mismanaged the first party stint, which was a shame, but and it's unfortunate. The random guy says, just drop by to say Stadia is dig. Oh, okay. I dig it too, random guy. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I think that there was a big lesson learned from this. It really gives you a peer behind the scenes on how swift this decision was, and the mismanagement of the team all the way to the end. So it's going to have, I mean, let's not be unreal and say it's going to have, it's going to cause issues on future acquisitions if they do try to do them. We will say that. It is going to create a layer of distrust with Stadia when it comes to inside the industry, unfortunately. And hopefully, I mean, again, this is inside the industry type thing. I don't think there's like consumer. I don't think there's a consumer explanation needed here. What I think that they better do is, if they are looking to make further acquisitions, they better have their talking points together. They better have all their ducks in a row. But as far as the consumer acquisition, I think what happened today, I think the statement that they made last week, I think that was fair enough for us. I don't think this story changes that dynamic. It just shows you a look behind the veil that gives you a look into the Fortune 500 world and how mucky and dirty it is, honestly. And it's going to cause a layer of distrust for Google that they better have their best speech writers or whatever, or PR people on top of, if they are indeed, like Brad Sam said, is looking to do a major acquisition. This is going to stymie that. So hopefully they're prepared for that. But with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I had to bring back NRO podcast for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Just bring it out. I'm looking to do something long-term with it on this channel as time permits it. I really should not be here. I should be working on something else. My wife is going to kick my ass. But with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming through. I appreciate and love all of y'all for the support that y'all give on the Stadia Dosage platform on here. Do me a huge favor. If you're coming here from Stadia Dosage platform, we are looking to do more things here. Hit that subscribe button, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So we can do a lot more here because we talk about all the gaming here. We got a show that we drop here every Thursday or Friday, depending upon our work schedules. It's called The Commission. It's with me, Project Storm, Snow Bunny, and a bunch of other people in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Like Cold Blood and company, and my homegirl Tron from the Sick Humor and King Thrash Roundtable podcast. She rocks out with us too every week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out, man. Some great shows. And with that said, I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much. Love the support. You all have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.